welcome to the show. Talofa lava. Malole, so for Maria.
They love it.
How's your Samoan savage?
Oh, it's not that great. Still not that. Still work on it.
It's
But
so nice to see you, my brother. I've listened to you all the years and also said a few quotes on my show on the lyrics of your rap music and stuff. So how you been? How has it been for
uh,
you?
yeah, everything's going good. God is good. Blessed with the family, so still blessed to still be doing music today. So
Absolutely.
uh, over 20 years now, 25 years now. So yeah, just God is good. Just still trucking along. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, some of our dear brothers, were the in the Pacific. Some of the well-known voices like Fiji Vekoso have passed on, and a few others. And I'm grateful that you're still hanging on to your talent and taking it and entertaining people all around. Where are you based now?
I'm based in Australia now. Based
Right.
in Queensland. Yeah.
Is there any project that you might want to share with us that you're working on?
Well, I'm doing the halftime show for the Kiwis versus Tonga
Mm.
Tonga game this weekend in Eden Park.
Yeah.
So Josh Toffee, another Pacific Island artist who is making big waves internationally,
Mm.
and also yeah, just still working on some music that I'm looking to release next year, and then I'm looking into other business ventures to help artists sync and license music, to corporate companies, TV, film, and sporting brands, things like that.
Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic to know that you're still rolling and into the music that you grew up with. Now, let's take you back. A little bit about your background. Where did you grow up, and how was life here when you were born, and your Samoan heritage, the villages of your parents. Perhaps you might want to elaborate a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in South Auckland, New Zealand. I grew up in Manidor. But at the age of 10, my mother sold our home and decided to move us back to the motherland in Samoa.
Hmm.
So I went to primary school, intermediate, and then I went to start high school before I was sent back to New Zealand to finish high school in New Zealand. So I had some time to grow up in Samoa, and to this day, it's still a very privileged thing to know that I had that experience. And there's many things that I learned in Samoa, and one of them was how to use your wits about you on how to sell product.
Hmm.
When I was when I take my kids back and I see the young kids selling banana chips and
Yeah.
things like that in the markets and in Apia, my mom used to send me to Chiang Mai to sell her sandwiches. So
Wow.
I understand what that life was like, and you had to make sure you had to sell all your product before you could catch the bus home, and you wanted to make sure it was all sold by the time it was 4 o'clock, or
Hmm.
else you missed the last bus back to the village. So
What are
um,
the villages that your mom and dad come from?
yeah, so my mum is from Alepaka. She's from Lanmangu in
Right.
Uluru. Um, and my father's village, I'm not very close with my father, but from my knowledge is he's from Saleofi.
Yeah, from Salufio. He's a town boy, a town area boy.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
your parents still well alive and still
Uh,
here in
my
New Zealand?
my father passed away 2004. But my mum is still alive and well with my stepdad. They live there and still living there in Samoa, and still enjoying the life there and the island life.
Earlier in your career as a young man, when did you first sort of, extend and expand your kind of interest into music and especially rapping? Because that's what I knew. You were a specialized artist in rapping.
I still remember it vividly to this day. I would have been about 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
And there wasn't many Samoans on TV back then in New
Mm.
Zealand, especially on an international scale. And I remember me and my brother were on our way to school, and the TV was on, and it was a music channel, and they were playing Booyah Tribe.
Hmm.
Great.
Wow.
And I remember my brother stopped me, and he's like, "Hey, these guys are Samoan." And I remember watching it, and me and my brother ended up walking to school singing the song, and I think it was from there where it really planted the seed that I
You
could.
can make it, yes, and you can do
Yeah.
it. Mm.
Thanks to legends like the Boya tribe and Fiji, uh, God rest his soul, and even local rappers in New Zealand like OMC, they set the pathway for artists such as myself. So it just all kind of started back then when I was just a young kid walking to school.
So, how did the name Savage was adopted, and then it became a famous name now, and you're using it on the international stage?
Well, in high school, we would call each other by our last name.
Mm.
A lot of people call me Sav for short. So my last name Savalio.
Yeah, mm.
They'll call me Sav for short, and then it just kind of spread off into the name Savage, and it kind of stuck. So I decided to use it as
Your
my
performance.
name for
Mm.
as an artist. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Okay, now who organized the gig that you're about to perform at Eden Park during the rugby test, rugby
Yeah,
league
so
test?
it's all put together through New Zealand Rugby Commission, as well as Eden Park as well. So it's going to be my first time performing at Eden Park, which I'm very excited about. And obviously representing my culture and my heritage, also my place of growing up, my place of birth as well. So representing for the Kiwis.
Yes.
So I'm just looking forward to bringing me being a big Samoan. My job is to bring big energy. So that's the
Fantastic,
goal for the
fantastic.
day, is to make sure that send all the energy off to our people in attendance, and then for our players on the field as well.
You know, if you're going back to Eden Park, there are a lot of memories because Big Jonah Lomu's
Yes.
funeral was held there. I know you would have some attachment to him and
Yeah.
also getting to know him. How was that in those days?
And so I attended Wesley College, but I was there a few years after Jonah Lomu. But I will say that Jonah Lomu came to one of my shows earlier in my career, and I just remember being starstruck when I seen him. And when they asked him what he was doing there, he asked me if I went to Wesley College. So I said, yeah, I attended Wesley College, and he asked me if I wanted to go have lunch, and so he took me out. But he gave me one of the most best business advice during that lunch. At the time, I didn't understand what he meant, and it wasn't until I got into a position where I understood what he meant. And he always said to me, um, when you walk into a corporate situation or a corporate meeting, he says, before you even speak, they will automatically think of you as not as intelligent as them. He says the best thing that you can do is just make sure that you study the business, so that by the time you open your mouth to say something, the words that you use have to blow them away.
That's such a
So
wonderful advice from the big boy. But you know, the other day, because I found out that Lomu loves fast cars and huge noses, and I heard one of your songs been played on those big, unreal stereo, and also in his car. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember distinctly. He had, I think it was a Ford Explorer that he had all these speakers attached to, and I remember them playing some of our music, and even locally
Yes,
in the parades you have there, Mangere for Tosa Mo, or the parades in Otahu. It's awesome to hear that they play all our music, and um,
fantastic.
yeah. So it's, yeah, that's
Well,
such a
it
blessing.
drags both, ends of our people, both Tongan, the Samoan, the Fijians, the whole of the Pacific, my brother.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
did you watch the Tonga rugby league game against the Matema'a Tonga? What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, so I attended. So I was there
Really?
with my family. Yeah, so my youngest daughter, she performs for the Gold Coast King Siva Academy.
Right?
They performed at the halftime show for the Fetu Samoa and Jillaroos game. And so we went to support our daughter, but as well as support our Toa Samoa and Fetu Samoa players. And the atmosphere was just amazing. You know,
Amazing.
Suncorp is one of those stadiums that is, it's like one of the main centers for rugby league. You know, for state of origin, and to see like so many supporters from both sides of Samoa and Tonga come to fill the stadium, and not just fill it with people in numbers, but to fill it with Samoan hymns and Tongan hymns, and it was just amazing atmosphere to be a part of and to witness. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And not only that, the best thing that I see on the night of the test is the warm feeling of of just peaceful and harmony among our people. The history between us and Tongans as brothers and
Yes.
sisters. We always have that thing between us, but I think through the years, people have become smart and also mellow down and learning our history, that we are
Yeah.
one people.
Yes, 100%. You know, even growing up as a teenager, it was still very tense between the cultures in those times in the in 80s to the 90s. But as time has grown, so has the bond between the two cultures. So, you know, when I speak to my children about what it was like in those days, they can't fathom it, because some of their closest friends are Tongan, or same vice versa. Some, they're very embedded together. So it's just awesome to see. And on game day, even before the game, the kickoff, there's always banter between friends and family, with the Samoa, Toa Samoa versus the
Mm.
Mate Tonga. But after the game, when it's all said and done, we're still all as one, and we're still close. And at the end of the day, we will always support each other's team when they're going up against the likes of the Kiwis,
Yes,
or like the
yes.
Kangaroos and things like that. England.
That's fantastic. Tell us about your experience, because I know some of your soundtrack were used in a hit movie,
Yes.
and it took you to the United States. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was an amazing experience for me. Being a Samoan rapper from New Zealand. Back then it wasn't very common to have foreign rappers in America doing well. And I remember being in a boardroom at Universal, and a lot of them couldn't really explain how why the record swing was being so successful, and they were like, we need to try and find a way to make it stick. How can we bring more awareness to people knowing that I'm from Samoa and from South Auckland, New Zealand. And the best thing that we said were back in those times was, man, let's highlight all our Pacific Island players in the NFL. And so I decided to come up with an anthem to kind of bring everyone together, and that was the song "Wild Out" with the Chehu.
Yes, yes,
And that was the anthem to bring everyone together. So I remember when we were recording the music video clip for the song, I invited all artists, all Pacific artists from all genres to come and join with us, a celebration of the song. And in the video clip, if you go back to the Wild Out video, you'll see J Book. In the video, you'll see Spawn Breezy, and this was
yes.
at the start of everyone's journey. So it's just been heartwarming to see the growth of Pacific Island music internationally, and the likes of Just the Toffee, who will
Yeah.
also be performing this Sunday, and then you got the likes of Maoli as well. That's you know um, creating such a massive platform for us Pacific Islanders.
How is your career driving? Is it fruitful in terms of financial stability and good for
Yes.
you and your family?
Yes, so many years ago, I was at a point where I had to learn the business, because I had so many questions that I couldn't answer myself, and the only way to answer them is to learn or to gain knowledge from it.
Hmm.
The best thing I did in one particular year, I took the year off. It's the only year in my career that I didn't release any music, and that was the one year that I would pay my lawyer to meet with me 2 to 3 times a month for that year, and for him to explain the contracts every term so that I could understand the business a bit more. And then once I started to gain more confidence in understanding how contracts work, I started to strategize my own deals, and I was successfully able to make sure that all the terms fell in my favor. So financially, God is good. I've been able to, because of that, learning the business and learning how to read contracts, helped me to gain more of a foothold financially. And it's definitely something that I do want to encourage the young up and coming artists, that although that we are very passionate when it comes to music, we have to understand and learn the business, because if you don't understand and learn the business, it's very easy for others to take advantage of you, but at the same time, um, you'll lose out on so much more for your family, for your children and your children's children. So it's
Absolutely. I'm
to you.
so proud and glad that you took on the business side of your career and started to master your own destination in terms of what you want to do and how it will pan out to do. Now, you take pride in the brothers that you started out with the Deceptikonz.
Yes.
How are your brothers and even Mareko and them?
Yeah, everyone's good. Mareko and Alfrisk, they both live in Queensland. We live not too far from each other, so our children are actually very close. Even though it's only me and Mareko that are distantly related, but the rest of the crew were not related through blood. But the amazing thing is that all our children only know each other as cousins, first cousins. So Devolo is still there in New Zealand, so he's based in New Zealand, and then the rest of us are here in Queensland. So those are my
Mm.
brothers until
Have
until
your
the end
own,
of days.
yes.
Yeah,
But the other good thing, because I was following different artists like yourself, Shefu,
yeah.
Jamu Jam at the time, and also King Kapisi and all of them. You sort of spring out all at the same time, and also not only soul music, but then you broke into rapping. And why was that so important that you wanted to specialize in this kind of music?
I think for me personally, I was better at rapping than I was singing. Um, and I guess being able to differentiate my style, or to kind of um, talk about the topics that are, I guess, that are relevant for me and myself. I managed to find a band of brothers, such as At
That
Ease
is,
and
yeah, Nine and V.
David Dallas, Scribe, and we were able to create a hub for ourselves and a community for ourselves to support each other whenever events were on, and we worked together closely. So when you look at the rise of Decepticons and the Dawn Raid era, you'll always find each other in the working on each other's music. If you look at the Stop, Drop, and Roll video with it, we have Scribe in that video. And
Yes.
then if you look at the Not Many video, you'll see Mareko and Devolo in the video. So we all worked um, very closely together. And God is good. We still have that relationship today. We're still very close friends, and still keep in contact.
You live in Australia now and raising your family there. You're still
Yep.
part and the heart of a Kiwi. What's your
Mhm.
message for Toa Samoa and also, the MMT and the Kiwi supporters on Sunday? Come the day for your gig as well.
Yeah. Oh man, for all of the Tosa more players, especially our top tier players that have converted from playing for the Kangaroos or the Kiwis, and have chosen to play for their heritage. the gratitude that I have for these guys is through the roof. I've been a Toa Samoa fan for many years, and I remember, I think it was in late 2010, maybe going to a Toa Samoa game, and man, there was only maybe not even 50 of us there
Yeah.
to support the team. So to see these top tier players come and pledge their to their heritage, to their culture, for both Samoa and Tonga, and you have to give flowers to players like Jason Malolo and Andrew Fafita, who
Hmm.
were one of the first to choose their heritage over a top tier team like the Kangaroos. So
Yes.
I'm just looking forward to supporting the Kiwis as well. Even though I'm Samoan through and through, I still have to pay homage to the place that helped grow me into the man that I am, and the platform that helped build my music career. So definitely supporting the Kiwis as well. So
That
I'm
is
looking.
fantastic, fantastic response to that. And what would you say? Because a lot of your fans and young upcoming artists are watching this interview and also will be coming to the game on Sunday. What would you be your best advice for them in their careers?
The best advice that I could give for up and coming artists is tend to try and find more and creativity when it comes to writing your music. Follow your heart and what you want to write rather than trying to follow what the trends are on TikTok and things like that. Because one thing about trends is that they come and they go very fast.
Hmm.
Where if you look at the span of my career, I've been fortunate enough and very blessed to still have generations different, so many different generations still listen to my music today, and I think it's solely to do with the whole creative side of not focusing on what's trending, but more so focusing on what needs to be delivered for your people. So it's very important, and you'll for those that are attending the game this weekend, the Sunday at Eden Park, just also understand that showmanship and performing your performances as well is most important, because that's what keeps the memory of people of your music, is when they say, "Oh, I was there at that show and he did an amazing job." So
Would you be singing "Gee-ho, stop, drop, and roll"?
all the classics. Yes, we will.
Would
I'll be
you?
performing before the kickoff for the Kiwis versus Mate Matonga. I'll be doing a performance before the kickoff, and then halftime show. I'll be doing the halftime show, and then right after the main game, after the Kiwis versus Tonga, Josh the Toffee will be performing. So it's going to
Wow,
be not just an amazing day for rugby
Pacific,
league,
yeah.
but it's going to be an amazing day for entertainment.
Absolutely. Would you have some time to write some, give away some of your signatures on the back, or,
Oh,
a little piece of
100%.
paper for our families and friends and children? Because, the other generation has moved on, and the next generation are listening to your music, my brother.
Uh, I appreciate that. And, like God is good that that my music still lives on to this day. So my goal is to help other artists get to this point where they can too still be doing music 25 years on.
Thank you so much, my brother, because of our time, but I look forward to catching up with you.
Yeah.
Have you caught up with some of our big stars like Aradna and also Jamo
Yeah.
Jam?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
Shameful.
caught up with Lucky Barana. I saw him a couple of weeks ago at the King Siva Academy event here in Gold Coast. I also did a show with Aradna recently at Promised Land here in Gold Coast. So I still keep very close contact with those my friends at ease as well, Nana and V, and as well as Scribe as well. So we're still very close to this day.
All right. Final thoughts on Samoan language rappers like Gas Futialo and many others. What would you say to them?
It's beautiful. Kaz has been on the frontier of being one of the first, fluent Samoan rappers. To see more and more come through and representing the culture, it just gives us our own identity and our own sound. And
Absolutely.
It's something beautiful, and I still have to challenge myself to learn, fully learn my language as well.
All right, my brother. It was so great to talk with you and have a conversation before the game on Sunday. I wish you well with your career if you return, your family, and may God bless you. The love to your mothers and regards to your mother. Is she still in New Zealand?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, no, she lives in Samoa now.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So when we moved when I was 10, she's remained in Samoa since then. We moved to Samoa in 1991, and she's stayed there ever since.
All
Yeah, she
right.
lives up there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Fafte Tili Lava Molo Tabi. And God bless. I will catch up with you next to your stage on Sunday. And thanks for being on my program, my brother. Take care.
But Taitele, lover, Malava Ngoa. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Yes, so if we're here. There you go,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. One of Samoa and the Pacific biggest star in music. And he was here. Yes, he was here today with Severe Li Atawa on this Gagaifo Faiva program on Radio Samoa. You know, very grateful for these brothers and their continued fight for their own talents and their own rights to become huge stars on international stages around the world. And now they have returned, sons for the return home. The Patriots of the Pacific have returned to New Zealand as well. So